The day you stop romanticizing men, you see reality. At first, when you were younger, it was Cinderella. As you got older, it became smut books, dark romance novels, and movies like 50 Shades of Grey. These stories shaped your understanding of what you believe a relationship with a man should be. But unfortunately, these men have used these stories that you have romanticized to take advantage of you because they understand that the more they can get you to romanticize them, the easier it will be to keep you emotional and irrational in your relationships with them. Which is why on today's show, I'm going to explain to you how dangerous romanticizing men can become in the pursuit of a successful relationship and how to prevent yourself from doing that so that the men that you meet can't use that against you anymore. By the end of the show, you will be so, I should say, logical and rational in how you view men and the decisions you make about them that they will never be able to fool you with their mask ever again. And make sure to use the link in my pinned comment and in my description to submit your personal relationship questions to me via voice or text, ideally voice, because at the end of the lesson, I will be listening to it and I will be answering all of your relationship questions live on the show. So I want to talk about the fantasy that you were raised on. Now, as it relates to believing in this fantasy, here's where it starts. Your Cinderella stories, your Beauty and the Beast, beast tamed by a kind, soft woman. You mature eventually, and then it's not necessarily Cinderella, it's dark romance novels, smut books, 50 Shades of Grey, things like that. But the reason that this can be so dangerous is because those stories, they shape your understanding of what a relationship should be and what your relationships with a man should be like and what to expect from the men that you meet. Now, this can be good and bad. The reason it becomes dangerous, though, is because as you grow in the fantasy that like, wow, you're going to meet a man and he's going to be amazing and he's going to be like your Prince Charming and he's going to sweep you off your feet, that can actually lead to it being easier to take advantage of you because the men understand that if they play a role, or I should say, if they put on a mask like those characters in your Cinderella story, or in your 50 Shades of Grey, or in your dark romance novel, if they can play that role, or at least make you believe that they are that person, very easily your guard will come down because you'll believe that, oh, if he's like that person, then this is my perfect relationship. The reason that's dangerous, though, is what if he's actually not that guy? What if he just understands that if you believe he's that guy, you'll be more likely to give your body, mind, and soul and spirit to him? So it's like a way for him to take a shortcut instead of actually having to be the man that you desire and want and actually having to respect you in the relationship and actually having to have the personality of the type of partner you're looking for. He can instead pretend like he's that person because he understands that you so desperately want to believe in your Cinderella story, that you so desperately want to believe in the idea that your Prince Charming will fall from the sky. While these stories are great in theory, because when you read them, they're exciting and they're riveting and they take you on an emotional roller coaster, those stories don't necessarily represent what you should be looking for in real life. But the problem is the stories are shaping what you end up desiring and looking to have in your real everyday relationships. Are we on the same page? Let me just hit record on my camera. I didn't hit record there. Okay. Give me a thumbs up if we're all on the same page so far. Everything's looking good. I don't see any issues in the live stream, dropping any frames or anything like that. Okay? So that was point number 1. Someone said, hi, glad to catch a live stream. Welcome. I'm glad that you caught the live stream as well. Okay, so let's move on to our second point. Okay? So for our point number 2, I want to talk about the idea that not every man is that man. And I want us to be very clear here before I go any further. I'm not saying that you can't find a good man. I'm not saying that all the men that you meet will treat you like garbage. What I'm saying is that looking for a man that is actually the man that you're looking for, meaning that he's a good man, he's a respectable man, he's a man that will take care of you, protect and provide for you, that can't possibly be every single man that you meet. It's just literally not possible. But this is part of preventing yourself from romanticizing the men that you meet and thinking to yourself that every time you have a conversation with the man, like this is going to be your Prince Charming. And how the ideology of your Cinderella story and wanting it so badly can cause you to believe that every man you meet is eventually going to be that man. Because again, if you so badly want to believe in that narrative, then every single time you're presented with a relationship, you're going to want to believe this is the time where I'm going to meet my Prince Charming and I'm going to be swept off my feet. And then imagine if compounding with that, he now is also like, oh, you really want a Prince Charming that will fall from the sky and be perfect for you in all these ways. And then he also tries to convince you that, yes, I am your Prince Charming. Don't you want to sleep with me because I'm your Prince Charming? Don't you want to be with me because I'm your Prince Charming? Don't you want to let me jackrabbit myself inside of you for 5 seconds because I'm your Prince Charming? So again, it becomes a vessel for him to use to say, okay, she really wants to believe in this narrative. So if I can just serve her this narrative, everything will be perfect because she already wants to believe that. Okay, but that can't possibly be everyone, and that's okay. Part of preventing yourself from romanticizing men is being okay with the fact that when I meet guys, I must evaluate on an ongoing basis if he is even the man that I'm supposed to be with. Not every man is going to be the man I'm supposed to be with. Not every man is going to respect me. Not every man is actually going to be invested in my best interest, is not actually going to support me, is not actually going to be my biggest fan, is not actually going to love me for real. And that's okay. I'm not saying that you should become a pessimist and you should believe that every man's trying to take advantage of you. That's not what I'm saying on the opposite end of the spectrum either. What I'm saying is having an understanding that just because you go on a date with a guy doesn't mean he's going to be your Prince Charming. Just because you're getting to know a guy and you're attracted to a guy, that doesn't mean that your relationship is going to be the best relationship ever. But again, that's okay. It allows you to calm yourself down and experience the date and experience the man exactly as he is, as opposed to wanting to believe in a narrative that you're pushing so hard in your mind, you're almost trying to force it down your own throat. Okay, are we on the same page? Someone said, I'm at work watching this. Don't get fired watching me, okay? If you're at work watching this, watch with caution. Okay? I don't want you to get in trouble watching me. I hope you don't get in trouble. I hope you get a promotion watching me, okay? Now, let's go to our next point here, okay? So, for our next point, I wanted to talk about the idea there are no perfect men. The really dangerous part about romanticizing men that you're actually in a relationship with, even the men that you start talking to, you start to get the idea that as long as he pretends to be perfect, then for the most part, he is perfect. But there are no perfect human beings. Again, I know that when I'm saying it, and we're here, you know, we're in a room, everyone's like, yeah, I'm a pro at relationships. It's easy to say, of course I know, Tom. You think I'm an idiot, Tomisin, that I don't know that there are no perfect men? Of course I know there are no perfect men. I don't expect to meet a perfect man. But at the same time, when you meet a guy that's really attractive to you, he's perfectly your type. Let's say you're into men who are dark, tall, and handsome with really straight teeth and a nice smile and charismatic. You already want to believe in the idea that he's very close to flawless. You have to accept your human nature of when you're presented with someone you actually like, there's a different switch in your brain that starts to play tricks on you that like, you know, he really, really, really seems like a really good prospect. And you're already anticipating, I really want to believe in the idea that you are my man. So naturally, because of that, your mind is going to skew to saying, all the things that I see or hear that are red flags, I want to ignore those because I want to believe in the narrative, you're my man. And then all the things that you're doing that are right or sound good, I want to emphasize those because I already want to believe in the narrative that you are my man. This is why I say, having an understanding, I am not going to romanticize men or relationships at all. Not meaning that you won't get your Cinderella story, so to speak, and you won't have a man that sweeps you off your feet and you won't have a man who takes care of you and wants the best for you. I'm not saying that you can't have a good relationship. What I'm saying is don't have the expectation that every time I meet a man, just by association of me being attracted to him or him feeling like my type, or I'm getting a vibe here that he might be my type, that I don't allow myself to evaluate our relationship as a whole and constantly on an ongoing basis analyze what he's actually doing and what he's not doing, and what I'm seeing and observing from him or what I'm not seeing and observing from him, and allow that to be the thing that convinces me whether or not this is truly my man, truly my Prince Charming. That's what I mean by stripping yourself out, taking the romanticism away from the men that you meet and not having in your mind that they're all your Prince Charming ready to save you, because that's not the case for every single man. Are we on the same page, right? The kitten says, Tomisin, even you have all the knowledge, but you are not almost perfect. No, I'm not perfect. I have a lot of flaws. Okay, even me, I'm not perfect. There's no perfect human being, and that's part of preventing yourself from romanticizing men, and romanticizing the men that you meet that you want to believe in the fact that they're perfect. I also have lots of flaws, lots of things that I'm sure if one of you were dating me, you'd be like, damn, I don't like this. I'm sure of it. It's just impossible for everyone to love everything about someone. Okay, let's go on to our next point here. Okay, so for our next point, when you stop romanticizing men, you get so much harder to play. And the reason I'm saying this is it's a positive thing. It's a great thing. I don't want you to think that becoming more analytical and logical in the way that you approach men, especially the men that you date romantically, is a bad thing, or it strips you from your ability to love. It is a positive thing from the standpoint when you stop romanticizing men and you always just see them for who they really are, you are now very clear and you're a lot more calm and at peace because you're not always trying to guess what did that sentence mean? Oh, but he typed this out and it wasn't without an emoji, or it had this emoji instead of that emoji. So what does that mean? Because last time when he said this, it meant that, and he did this. And last time when he said this and he did that, but that didn't make sense because that wasn't. Now you're just more like, wait. I just need to pay attention to the actions, and the actions will tell me exactly how he feels. The actions will tell me exactly who he is. The actions will tell me exactly what type of man that man is. And I accept that. If he tells me that he loves me a million times, but he doesn't show up for me, I accept that. If he tells me that, hey, I want to be in a relationship with you and I want to take things seriously, but he doesn't do that, I understand that it means he doesn't actually want to be in a relationship with me and he's not nearly as serious as he actually is. And you see how men are going to find it a lot harder to play games with you and play tricks on you because you're going to have a lot more clarity. That's why I say, when men want to take advantage of you, they want you to be very, very emotional. That's why if you ever try to hit a man with logic and say, you did this and you did that, that was inappropriate, this is why I'm leaving you, he'll say, but you know how much I love you, and you know how much I want to be with you, and you know that we were meant for each other. And he'll say all this stuff that's supposed to get you emotional. Same reason they'll bring to you emergencies randomly when they know that you don't want to talk to them, because they know that will get you emotional. The more emotional that you are, the easier it will be for him to take advantage of you because you will be more irrational. That's why I say, as you stop romanticizing men, you naturally become less emotional in your approach in dating, and you become that much harder to take advantage of overall. Does that make sense? Right? What did you say? Henya says, what if the man's mission is hot and he's not ordinary? What do you mean by his mission is hot? I'm not sure what that's referring to. Is that like, I don't know if I can say this, is that like a kink? I think on YouTube we can be a little bit more adult. Is that a kink? His mission is hotter? What type of mission? Okay. Let's go on to our next point here for point number 5. So for point number 5, you can read behavior again. Now, the really interesting part about romanticizing men, and this is a really pivotal point, you stop being rational in the way you stop being irrational in the way that you observe behavior. And he starts to not be able to get over on you as much in the ways that he can easily confuse you with certain types of behavior because you're more understanding of what those things mean. Let me give you an example of what I'm trying to discuss. So if a man, let's say, for the sake of example, is very aloof with you, let's say he doesn't necessarily plan things or he disappears for multiple days, and you're thinking, okay, well, when he says that he disappears, he tells me that it's because he's really busy at work. And so I guess that I'll believe that the behavior root of the issue is that he's really busy at work because that's what he's saying, he's really busy at work. And so you're not sure how to exactly interpret the behavior. When you stop romanticizing men, you realize, no. Okay, this man is going to do things that serve him. That's okay, but I understand that he's doing things that serve him. In my understanding of that, I need to realize that if he's not messaging me, if he's disappearing on me, he is selfishly taking the time to do the things that he wants when he feels like doing it, which is when he doesn't want to talk to me, he goes about his business and he doesn't even bother sending me a message. On the opposite end of the spectrum, when he's ready to see me or talk to me, now all of a sudden he remembers to send me a message. So it's not that he's so busy. I'm not reading the behavior as he's so busy and he wishes he could send me a message. It's the fact that he just doesn't care to send me a message if he doesn't want access to me in that moment, if he's not thinking of me in that moment, and if he doesn't want to see me in that moment. And so that's when you realize, wait, why am I investing my time and energy into a man who disappears on me for 4 or 5 days and then comes back to tell me that his phone died, or comes back to tell me that, he had a lot of work, because we all have a lot of work. So the action of disappearing on me for 4 or 5 days without saying a word to me is not because of the fact that he's really busy. It's because of the fact that he's not taking this relationship as nearly as serious as I'm imagining he's taking it. Okay? Someone said, everyone shut up, my show is on. Good, I'm glad you're paying attention. Okay? Let's go to our next point here, which is that his words never back up his actions, which can be a really confusing aspect of men. And then again, when you're romanticizing men, you want to believe that the words are meaning action. So when he says, I really love you and I really care about you and I really, really, really am very, very serious about being in this romantic relationship, remember, if you already want to believe this is your Cinderella story and he's your Prince Charming before you've even gotten a chance to observe anything from him, and he's telling you that, those words will hold a lot of weight in your mind because you're like, those words fit the narrative that I already wanted to believe in. And then from that point forward, you're like, okay, he really wants to be with me. He really wants this relationship. He says he really loves me. And so you're thinking that all of this is true. He really is your Prince Charming. This is the situation for you. But then imagine now you're acting on the situation as if he really is doing these things, but he's not actually doing these things. He's just telling you that he wants to or will do these things. But then now you're confused when down the line, the man that's saying he loves you and the man that's saying he's super serious about you can't even ask you on one romantic dinner date, can't even be planned and scheduled and organized with you, that you have to hit him up and say, hey, you promised me that we would go out on Tuesday. Why didn't you hit me up? Oh, I forgot. I was busy. I was with my boys. I forgot to message you. I forgot to call you. Maybe next time. And you're thinking, but this is supposed to be a man that said that he loves and he cherishes me and wants to be with me really seriously. So what happened to that? What happened to that is the words never match the actions, but you romanticize the words because you are romanticizing the man and wanting to believe in the fact that he is your Prince Charming even before he has shown you anything. Okay? We on the same page? Right? Nuna says, can I say what I noticed to him that I feel there's congruent, I think you might say there's not congruence in what he says and what he does. And if he's ready to give what I need, come find me. I would say I would refrain from that. We're actually going to have a show, I believe it's tomorrow, where we talk about how to deal with men that disappoint you. It might not be tomorrow, but sometime in the week, where we talk about the ideas of how to go about when men disappoint you or when they hurt you. And I'm going to tell you how to deal with that. But my answer is anytime you find a man's words and actions aren't aligning, I don't advise you to go ahead and start trying to call him out on those things, because the initial first response of a man you try to call out will always be to defend himself. And unfortunately, when a man is defending himself, what he's not doing is absorbing what you're actually saying. Okay, you on the same page? Okay, let's hop into our point number 7, all right? So for point number 7, not everyone wants love, and that is okay. What I want you to understand is you might be looking for a serious relationship, but you cannot romanticize the idea that every guy you meet is also looking for a serious relationship. Some guys, and I know this is going to sound really bad, but we have to accept that with human beings, they are naturally selfish, which means they are naturally looking out for their own best interests majority of the time. I'm not saying you can't meet a man that is invested in you and wants the best for you and wants to grow with you and really cares about your happiness. But the reality of it is, it cannot be possible for every man you meet to want the best for you. It cannot be possible for every man you meet to be super invested in your success and in loving you and in doing right by you. I'm not saying that to turn you into a pessimist where you think everyone is out to get you. The reason I'm saying that is I don't want you to get taken advantage of or to be easily hurt, because every single person you meet, you're like always just trying to see the absolute good in them and believe in the idea that you must want love just as much as I do. You must want to be in a relationship just as much as I do. You must cherish me just as much as I cherish you. Not necessarily. That's okay though. It's okay that not every man you meet is going to want and desire love. It's okay that some men you meet are just wanting to smash. It's okay that some of the guys that you interact with are here for their own selfish reasons. And the reason I'm saying that is because I want you to detach yourself from making situations that you incur and go through with men. Stop making them so personal to you. Realize that people will do their own thing for their own reasons because of their own selfishness. I don't have to personalize the fact that he doesn't want the same thing as me and the fact that he's here because he wants to get what he wants out of the situation. Not every guy that you meet wants love. This is part of, and when I'm saying this, it's like, wow, that really sucks. Wow, that you're really telling it like it is, but at the end of the day, that's really sad, don't you think? It's not. It doesn't have to be sad because you can still find love. It's just understanding that not every guy wants that same thing, and that's okay because it prevents you from being taken advantage of in believing that every guy wants that same thing. Are we on the same page, right? Marie says, then how can we let him know that he messed up without calling him out? My sister pops off right then and there, and she's like explosive, and I see he doesn't do it again. We're actually going to talk about this on our next show, so because I don't want to get sidetracked, Miss Marie. And on our next show, I'm actually going to talk about the idea of what to do when a man hurts you and how to set him straight. I'm going to go through the whole thing. So I don't want to go too deep into that, but trust me, for tomorrow's show, we will be discussing that, okay? All right, let's go to our next point here. Point number 8, right? Point number 8. Where's my mouse? Okay, point number 8. What the hell? Why my mouse not working? Sorry, my mouse is like frozen. What the hell? Am I tripping? There we go. Look at that. Now it goes to point number 20. I'm skipping all these points. Don't look. Okay, so for point number 8, we're gonna talk about the burden of hoping again. What can happen as well when you start romanticizing all the men that you meet, all the men that you date, is you go through this emotional roller coaster where every time you meet a new guy, even if you like meet a guy at work and you flirt with him for like 5 minutes, you start playing all of these scenarios in your mind where you're like, oh my God, what if we get married? What if we have children? What if we're together for 55 years and we grow old together and we die together and we get buried together? What if this is the man of my dreams? What if he's gonna be my husband? What if we get married tomorrow? What if he puts a ring on me tomorrow? And it's like, you go through literally from start to finish the entire process of being in a relationship with this man, and I haven't been recording this entire time. Oh my goodness. As I was saying, right? So the burden of hoping again can place a lot of stress on you emotionally because you're going on this roller coaster where you're constantly thinking to yourself, okay, this guy is gonna be the guy. This situation is gonna be the situation. We're gonna go all the way. And I'm not saying that it's bad to believe in good things as it relates to your relationship and the men that you date. What I'm saying though is, and what can become dangerous is you start to overemphasize in your own mind how far something will go when you don't necessarily know if it's even gonna go anywhere. The problem with that is if it doesn't go anywhere, imagine you going and taking yourself from a 5-minute conversation that's a little bit flirty, you're up over the moon, and you're like, oh my God, this is so amazing, we're gonna get married. And then now, let's say the next day when he's not paying attention to you anymore, or he's like ignoring you, or you realize he's got a girlfriend, now you're like back in the dumps, and you're like, oh my God, I thought this was gonna be my prince, charming moment. I thought I was gonna be Cinderella. I thought he was gonna save me from again, you're romanticizing so much the idea of men and meeting them and this being your story and this being your time to have your running off into the distance, that when it's not that, you're like so down afterwards. And I don't want that for you. Again, there's nothing wrong with believing in the idea that you will have a good relationship, that you will find love, and that you will meet the man of your dreams. I just don't want you to romanticize every encounter you possibly have with the men that you date, because it will become toxic for you and your own mental health to go on this roller coaster of building all the guys up that you have one conversation with and then being down in the dumps when you realize he's not nearly as serious as you thought he was. Because a guy can't convince you that he's serious on day one. A guy can only convince you that he's serious over the course of time. So believing in him and romanticizing your relationship is about romanticizing what has actually happened, not trying to build yourself up for something that you believe may happen one day. Okay? Someone says, so the first 7 points won't be available? They will. Because luckily, we're not really having any issues, or at least not too many in the live stream. So I can just take this live stream and I can post. Obviously, the live stream portion will be, but I'm talking about on the main channel. The main channel will, like some of the points will probably be from the live stream instead of being from my recording, which is fine. It's okay. We'll always get it done. All right? We on the same page so far? Thumbs up if we're doing good. Live stream is good. Have there been any glitches so far? I love all of you. I don't want the live stream to be glitching for any of you. Okay? All right. So for our next point, which is point number 9, in your movies, TV shows, dark romance novels, I want you to understand this concept that nobody is filming, recording, or writing about the boring parts. When you're watching a movie, you don't watch a movie of someone brushing their teeth in the morning. You don't watch a movie of them going to take a walk. You watch a movie of the most emotionally impactful and extreme scenarios and situations that a human being could possibly have. So yes, it's a representation of real life, but it's not the full spectrum of what real life consists of. The reason I'm saying this is because this can be very detrimental to your mental health and how you see relationships. Because you can start thinking that the only way to have a relationship, or a good one, is to have a relationship that resembles what you see in a movie, what you read in a dark romance novel, or what you're observing on a TV show or in a fantasy. Because when you start to believe this is what a relationship is and you romanticize that idea, it becomes toxic in multiple ways. It becomes toxic in the people that you now become attracted to because you're trying to recreate what you've read in a dark romance novel or seen in a movie. And it also becomes toxic because now when you meet men who don't take you on that same emotional roller coaster, you push them away naturally. Let me get into exactly what I'm referring to here by going into kind of this concept, right? So you will naturally want men who make you feel the same as when you are reading your dark romance novel and the character is doing the craziest of crazy stuff. You know, he's grabbing her by the hair and he's holding her off the edge of a cliff. And he's telling her, I'm going to drop you off this cliff unless you slurp me off right now. Like, that's how the dark romance novels are. I've read some of them. They're insane. Okay. So, but my point being is, imagine you're consuming this. You're watching the movies that are similar to this. You're watching all this other stuff, all this other content that's like in line with this. Again, there's nothing wrong with enjoying that. I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with enjoying that. But imagine the psyche that this is playing on you. Imagine what it's starting to get you to fantasize about and believe in and desire. You're like, oh, I would love a man who that's just so crazy. It's insane that I kind of love it at the same time. And then you're now looking for men who take you on that same emotional roller coaster as the main characters in the books that you're reading, in the novels that you're reading, and the movies that you're watching. I'm not saying it's bad to want your relationship to be exciting and to be stimulating. However, wanting your relationship to take you on that same emotional roller coaster that a book or a movie does is actually really, really bad for your mental health. Because remember how I talked about earlier, the books and the movies are giving you a very extraordinary, fantastical version of life that couldn't possibly be sustainable in real life. If you were going on an emotional roller coaster like that in your real life, you would be exhausted every day, every single day. And this is not, the point of this whole show is not to demonize dark romance novels or movies. I just want you to detach yourself from feeling like I want to recreate that in my real life. I want you to be more successful in your relationships, because while you enjoy dark romance, while you enjoy those movies and those characters, sure, you can bring certain elements of that into your relationships, but you don't try and recreate those relationships in your real life and romanticize the idea that I want my man and I want the things that I go through with him to take me on the same emotional roller coaster that my dark romance novel or my movie does. Okay? Very, very important, because it can be very detrimental to your success in your relationships. You can end up, and it's a very weird self-sabotaging thing, because you can end up saying, why am I attracting men who make me feel horrible and make me feel like garbage, and I always have to prove myself to them, and they take me on this huge, crazy roller coaster, and I feel like I'm going insane? Well, low key, you're kind of attracting that into your life because everything that you're manifesting in terms of what you want and what you're looking for, you want the men subconsciously that are taking you on that emotional roller coaster. Okay? Right? We on the same page? Okay? So I want to give kind of an example of how that can manifest itself in real life. And I know it's going to kind of suck. And I know, trust me, I know a lot because I get a lot of private questions and I got a lot of information about a lot of things. So I know some of you watching me are dating or have dated or will date a married man or a man who's in a relationship. Let's just be adults here, okay? Not everyone's in the perfect situation. So I'm not gonna pretend like some of you aren't doing that. But this is a perfect example of how easy it can be to romanticize men that take you on a roller coaster and romanticize the emotional roller coaster itself. Because let's say for the sake of example, you're with a married man and you've been fantasizing about the idea of like this will they, won't they? Oh, you know, he wants me so badly, but he can't be with me because his wife, but he hates his wife and it's so hard for him, but it's so hard for him to be with me because his children and his wife's a monster and she won't let, and so in your mind you're like, oh, but we should be together, but we can't, but when I see him, I want to kiss him. And when we hug in the break room at work and then we talk and we text, but I can't text him all the time because sometimes he's in bed with his woman. So he sneaks out and he calls me and I sneak out and I call him and we meet up and we... While it seems great if you're reading it in a book and it can be exciting initially, you eventually get to the point where this becomes exhausting. But you're almost like addicted to the fact that it is emotionally exhausting. But it's draining you simultaneously emotionally. And it's also putting you in a position, think about it, the longer you're investing yourself in this relationship that is emotionally exhausting, but you're low-key excited or attracted to the fact that it's emotionally exhausting and it's taking you on a roller coaster because it's just like your dark romance novel. Imagine how self-sabotaging that can be in nature. Because when you start asking yourself, wait, but I don't have real happiness here. I don't have real stability here. I don't actually feel emotionally safe in my relationship. And then you start longing for the fact that, yeah, it was great for this to represent a dark romance novel and be a will they, won't they type of thing. And for me to be like, wow, we love each other and we're sneaking around and it's so exciting. But then after a while, I stop craving the excitement and I start craving the stability. I start craving the sustainability of a relationship that I can actually feel safe in. I start craving feeling chosen and feeling like a priority with the man that I'm dating, as opposed to feeling like he's simultaneously loving another woman and I'm a second-class citizen. And so you're conflicted now because what was once exciting and what might even still be exciting at times is also making you feel like garbage. Do you see how self-sabotaging the romanticization of the men and the men that you date through the mediums that you consume, like movies, TV shows, books, novels, all this other stuff, can actually be detrimental to your mental health and your ability to have successful relationships, right? Abby makes a great point, which is even emotionally unavailable men will make you feel this way, right? A perfect example, right? I use the married man as an extreme example, but it can be an emotionally unavailable man. It can be a man that even just got through a breakup. And maybe you know that he's emotionally available, but there's still a will they, won't they dynamic to your relationship. And it can be exciting. And it can represent the things that you read. And then all of a sudden, it starts to become very emotionally draining. Right? Sabrina says social media relationships are also a fantasy. Add this to the list with romance books and TV shows. I love that point, Sabrina, because that's very true. Social media, especially in today's day and age, can play a role in what you believe your relationship should be like based on what you're consuming, and can really skew your mindset to actually help you set up the wrong type of relationship. I know it sounds crazy, but I wanted to talk and discuss this concept, okay? Now, simultaneously, as I talked about, the men who take you on an emotional roller coaster will naturally excite you because they are representing the main characters that you read about in your novels that maybe you see on social media, like Sabrina just said, or even the type of people that you see in movies, the main characters that you see in movies. What will eventually happen is, just like you will desire and be attracted to the men who take you on that emotional roller coaster, you will also find yourself naturally bored with the men who are more stable. Let me be very clear here. There's nothing wrong with wanting to be excited and having excitement in your relationship. But what you also want to understand is part of your happiness as a woman is feeling safe in your relationship, feeling emotionally safe especially. And the way that you feel emotionally safe in your relationship is by being with a man that you feel is predictable, being with a man that you feel you can rely on, being with a man that you feel safe with because you know what to expect from him and you know he's not going to deviate from the way that he treats you, deviate from the way that he goes about this relationship. You know that you will be taken care of and you can rely on him to take care of you. And these are really, really important aspects to dating men and to having successful relationships that make you happy for the long term. And the reason, this is why I'm saying you have to stop romanticizing men and the men that you meet, especially through the medium of the things that you consume, because when the stable men bore you, you will always push them away. They won't be as exciting. They won't take you on that emotional roller coaster. And you'll think to yourself, I have a worse relationship because when I'm with this guy, I'm not like this and that. I don't feel like I'm getting high on a drug, but I also don't feel like I'm down in the dumps. But you imagine to yourself, if I don't feel like I'm super high, that must mean that I don't like him as much. That's not what that means. But again, if you've been romanticizing the idea that a good relationship or the relationship I should be in should take me on a roller coaster like my dark romance novel, then you now convince yourself that anything that doesn't feel or look similar to that is not the relationship that you should be in. And I know some of you are thinking, I'm not that dumb. I would never not choose a stable man and a safe man just because he's boring to me. You don't realize, I want to say this the right way. Even subconsciously, what can happen? You begin to meet a man, he is stable, so he's a little bit less of an emotional roller coaster. Instead of saying to yourself, I don't like him because he's not taking me on an emotional roller coaster, because naturally you're not going to want to admit that to yourself, that that's the reason. What will happen is mentally, you'll say, I don't like that guy because he's not my vibe. I don't think I'm really as attracted to that guy. It's just me and him, we don't really click. We don't really mesh. We don't really have chemistry. And see, what happens here is you change the narrative. Instead of saying it's really because I'm bored of him because he's more stable and less of an emotional roller coaster, you make it something else. Your attraction to him, there's not a spark, you don't feel that. And so you make it something else to convince yourself that that's why you don't like him, when it's really because the fact that the emotional roller coaster isn't there isn't as exciting for you as the dark romance novel that you're trying to recreate in your real life. This is why I say stripping yourself of the romanticization of men and your relationships with them will actually yield you better results and better relationships. Because when you strip away the romanticization, you strip away the emotional the emotional approach to relationships that actually serve to work against you, right? Right? So it's very important to recognize that within you. And you might not realize it, but slowly but surely, everything you're consuming, like Abby mentioned here, can start to train you that the toxic men are the best men. The toxic men have the best D. The toxic men are, the most exciting. The toxic men you like the most, right? And you can literally start to become physically attracted to the men that are the most toxic because you're just like, those toxic men are so much better than the men who are too stable and they're too boring, right? So let's go on to our next point number 13, right? The good man who disappoints you can create issues because, as like I was talking about earlier, you spend time romanticizing him, you spend time romanticizing this relationship, right? You start to crave that fantastical element. If that fantastical element is no longer present, you start to become concerned. And even what can happen is, as you're building relationships with men, you can start to crave men in your life. Let's say you're with a stable man. You can start to crave men who are naturally toxic. And that can start to feel like, well, maybe the grass is greener over there because I'm more excited with him. It's more of a dark romance novel with him. There's very much a will they, won't they. I know that I'll be really excited with that guy. And the dangerous part, unfortunately, I'm not trying to, be mean to you or blame you or anything. I just want you to understand how influential this can be in your life, that you can end up, if you're choosing between two guys, choosing the guy who takes you on that emotional roller coaster because you've convinced yourself you're more attracted to that man, when it's really not about attraction, it's about wanting to be on that emotional roller coaster because that's more in line with what you've been reading, what you've been consuming, and what you've been watching. I know I'm going deep, but I do want to clarify this because I see this with a lot of the women that I help, that the the fact that they've been convincing themselves for so long that the best men are the men that take them on this roller coaster has been really, really hurting them in the results of the men that they attract, in results of the men that they end up being with in the first place, okay? Let's go on to our next point, right? I'm not saying that your relationship should not be fun, and I'm not saying that you should aim to only be with men who are absolutely extremely boring. What I'm saying is stop romanticizing the idea that the roller coaster is actually fun for you. What is real fun in life for you as a woman is feeling like a priority in your relationship with the man that you're with and feeling emotionally safe and stable in the relationship with you. When we talk about, anytime you hear me say fun, I want you to replace that with like sex and one night stands, and I want you to replace that with stability, emotional safety, and feeling like a priority. Those are the real key pillars that will make you have fun in your relationship. And also, as it relates to excitement, understand that you can have a lot of excitement in a stable relationship. Please, I beg of you, stop romanticizing the idea that the only men that are fun and that can have fun are the men who are toxic. I promise you, there are lots of quote unquote boring, stable men with stable jobs, stable income, stable finances that you can have lots of excitement in your relationship with them. I 100% assure you. Get yourself out of the mentality of only being attracted to the toxic men, only be attracted to the roller coaster ride, and say to yourself, no, I'm gonna figure out how to make the stable men who aren't taking me on this roller coaster, I'm gonna figure out how to make that relationship exciting. I'm gonna figure out how to make that dynamic exciting, because there's plenty of things you can do with your partner, plenty of places you can go, plenty of activities and shared things that you can share in bonding and getting to know each other and going on adventures that can be just as exciting and just as riveting and just as emotionally stimulating as being with the toxic men. The only difference is with the toxic man, you don't actually have to do work to make him more exciting. With the stable man, you have to do extra work because since you're not getting all of that emotional roller coaster from your relationship, you have to bring the excitement externally. But it can be done. We on the same page, okay? So, let's go ahead. I want to skip ahead to these two things. So we're going to skip point number 15, right? And I want to go right into point number 16, which is you then let the outcome go when you stop romanticizing men, which is great. I want you to let go of the outcome. When I say this, what I'm talking about is when you are romanticizing every man that you meet, remember how I was talking about earlier, you start to envision in your mind, I had one 5-minute conversation that was a little bit flirty with him. From that 5-minute conversation, I'm going so deep into us being married and us being together, and this could really work out, and this could be a whole thing, and we'll have a family. And when you go so far deep into that, imagine having a 5-minute conversation. That doesn't mean he really likes you. That doesn't mean he really wants to date you. That doesn't mean he's going to be serious about a relationship with you. And so from that, you start to feel like, well, imagine if you were putting so much into the idea that you guys are going to build something from that 5-minute conversation. You're now really, really attached to the outcome that this has to work. And if it doesn't work, I'm going to be very, very, very disappointed. Imagine how much emotional and psychological pressure that puts on you, that every guy you start, even from a first date, if it goes even decently well, you're like, we have to be together. This has to work out. I have to have him. There's no other option here. That's where it's so easy to get in this very desperate scenario, very desperate mind frame where the first date went well and you're like, great, we have to be together. This has to work out. I'm super attached to the outcome. And then the next date either doesn't come or it goes very poorly. And you're like, oh my God, we have to make this work. What do I have to do to fix this? I thought that we were going to be together. I thought that we're going to get married. Again, this is part of the effect of romanticizing men and romanticizing relationships, that every guy you encounter, it's now the biggest deal in the world. Allow yourself to go out on dates, experience men. I'm not saying you shouldn't have a positive mindset that, yes, I want to have a good relationship, and yes, eventually I will find my man, right? And your man is coming, and you're going to have a great relationship with him. I'm not saying that you should have a negative outlook on that. What I'm saying, though, is detach yourself from the outcome that, hey, I'm going to evaluate based on the things I experienced with this man if he's actually the man I should be with. I'm not going to go so far into the future where I'm like, yes, I want these things. Yes, it's important to me to have this relationship dynamic. That doesn't mean you don't have clarity. That doesn't mean you don't know what you want. But what you're saying is, I know what I want. I know the type of man I want. I just don't know if that man is you. And I can't answer that question on the first date. I have to evaluate the answer to that question on an ongoing basis as I continue to get to know you. And I am not attached to the outcome because I know my desired outcome is coming. I just don't know who that man is going to be. And I don't know exactly when that outcome is going to present itself. But it eventually will present itself. But as it relates to me and you, while I am investing myself in this relationship and I'm putting my best foot forward, I'm detaching myself from the outcome because I can't fully control the outcome. Do you get what I'm saying? See, when you romanticize the men that you date, you feel like you must control the outcome because the outcome is attached to the narrative. When you let go of trying to control the outcome, you detach yourself from trying to control the narrative, which puts you at peace and allows you to experience what you're actually receiving from that man, which puts you in a much more logical and analytical place that prevents you from getting played and helps you make better decisions in the men that you choose for your long-term happiness. Are we on the same page? Right? Someone says, I'd be planning out the whole marriage after a week, which is a problem, right? It can lead to situations where you're on this emotional roller coaster all the time. And imagine the guy that was giving you attention at the beginning of the week is now more busy or giving you less attention. Now you're just like, oh my God, my whole future is falling apart in front of my eyes. And for you, that's so mentally draining and emotionally and spiritually draining to be on that roller coaster where one day you think you're gonna get married to a man and then the next day you're like, he literally hates me. That's not healthy. You won't be able to sustain just sanity if you're in that place mentally all the time, right? Let's go into our next point here. Okay. I am probably going to go in a bit of a rant with this. Just bear with me. It's very important to me, and it's very important to me that you understand this. Dating is not a lottery. Stop romanticizing the idea that your man is going to fall from the sky and bestow himself upon you and knock at your door when you're sitting at home on your couch and just be perfect and present himself to you and everything is just going to work out. Dating is not a lottery. Romance is not a lottery. The fact that you have a great relationship is not by accident. I'm going to touch on this in my next point as well. I understand you will see things that make you feel like, well, they work for other people. Just because they work for other people, that doesn't mean that that's how you should go about your life. You have to understand, in order to have a good relationship, in order to give yourself the best opportunity to have a healthy, positive relationship, it means you will have to put work in. It means you will have to do things. It means you'll have to learn, whether from people like me, grow in your understanding, go out on dates, experience good men, experience bad men, go through some tragic situations, right? The more you're learning from someone like me, the less bad experiences you have to have in order to know what to expect for the future, right? You have to grow and you have to develop in your ability to date and identify the right men and know how to go about relationships. Accepting that is what will give you the chance of actually having and receiving the right relationship and the right man. Anytime you push back on that and you say, I just want everything to fall into place and I just want everything to work out, and why does love have to be complicated? I seen someone in the chat say, oh my God, dating is so hard. Yeah, I mean, anything you want in life that you want to be successful at and you want to see positive results in, you have to put work into it. Unfortunately, that's the nature of life. Now, will some people not have to put work in and still get what they want out of it? For sure. Does that mean that that's a strategy for everyone? Of course not. So, and I want to touch on this as well in my next, I told you, I had to make 2 points out of this because it's such a big important point for me. So, I want to also talk about the idea because I know for a fact, I've heard this a million times. Women will come to me and they'll say, Tomisin, you're an idiot. You're a stupid idiot. I don't know why you make videos. You don't know what you're talking about. You're telling me I got to do all this work for men. You're telling me I got to play all these stupid games. I got to say this. I got to act like that. I got to make sure I ignore him if he does that and he does it. You're dumb. You don't know what you're talking about because my friend, she was on Hinge for 1 week. She met a guy, super liked him. They super liked, they went on one date, the same date, in an hour after they met, they slept together. There was great sex. They had a great time. They got along super amazing. And now they're married. And they have 3 beautiful children. And they lived happily ever after. And my friend did every single thing that you say not to do. You're an idiot. I need to stop listening to you. You're a stupid YouTuber. I answer that by asking a question. If your friend won the lottery, let's even imagine 3 of your friends won the lottery consecutively, back to back to back weeks. All of them won the lottery. Are you now going to quit your job because you say, well, 3 of my really good friends won the lottery back to back to back weeks. So that means that I should bank my entire life on the fact that because my friends won the lottery, the chances of me winning the lottery are probably really high, even though they're not. And I will quit my job and just play the lottery because since my friends won the lottery, I will probably win the lottery too. So my strategy in life, in making money, will be to win the lottery like my friends did. Even though I acknowledge that winning the lottery is extremely unlikely, simply because my friends did it, I'm going to assume that that should be my strategy as well for success. Would that make any sense? Wouldn't that be extremely financially irresponsible of you to do? To base your life decision and how you choose to make money moving forward based on the fact that your friends won the lottery, while simultaneously acknowledging that winning the lottery is not a common occurrence. My point being is, yes, I'm sure a lot of you will have friends that they do none of this stuff. They don't have to watch shows on this. They don't have to practice any of this. They just be themselves seemingly, and everything seemingly falls into place. At least that's your perspective on it. Even though a lot of times it's not true. You're not seeing a lot of the work that they put in because they don't tell you about it. But even that's beside the point. Let's say even the friends that you have that really don't put any energy into this and it works out perfectly for them. Great, it worked out for them. That doesn't mean that that's a strategy that will lead you to success. When you're strategizing about your life, the way you give yourself the best opportunity at success in anything, not just dating, in anything, is by strategizing, having a plan, and executing on that plan. The more you feel like I'm not going to strategize, I'm just going to let things fall into place, you'll be very unsatisfied and unhappy with your results. Because if you have a random approach, you will get a random result. Meaning, sure, in your random approach, you could find your perfect man and everything could work out perfectly for you like your friend maybe. But in your random approach, you could also get a random man that's horrible, that's abusive, that treats you badly, that is very toxic, and you're in a relationship with him now, or you have children with him now and you can't get out of being with this man. Do you really want something as important as the life partner that you choose to be left up to chance? Where, yeah, it could go amazing and you could meet your perfect man, but also it could go horribly. The reason I'm saying this as it relates to, stop romanticizing men, is romanticizing the idea that your man will fall from the sky is a lottery mentality. That I don't want to do any work and things will just fall into place. Not going to work like that. It's not going to work like that. And you'll be very disappointed with the results if you start to believe that it's going to work like that. We on the same page? Right? Someone says, I guess now I just don't care enough, but this is entertainment. You're here for a reason. Anyone that watches my videos and convinces themselves they don't care is a liar. You don't watch my videos because you don't care. You secretly care, but you want to pretend like you don't care, which is okay. Keep watching my videos. Eventually you'll realize that you do care. You'll embrace that and you'll start having better relationships. Because at some point, I'm assuming all of you are straight women that are attracted to men, you will eventually meet a man that you like. So in being part of my show, in listening and watching my videos, even if it just stays in your subconscious for a bit, eventually when you start dating a man seriously, you'll realize this is the time where I want to put in all the things that I've been learning. Maybe you don't have a man on your mind right now that you're serious about dating and want to be serious in a relationship with. So it's not seemingly like, oh, like I'm going to go out and execute it today. But trust me, it will become important, very, very important to you when you start dating men or you find a man that you really has a high likelihood of being like the man that you're going to be with for the rest of your life. Then you're going to want to know all the strategies and you're going to be scrambling to be like, let me learn everything that Tomisin said for the past 5 years. Okay? I promise you it's better to strategize. Okay? Here's the other really dangerous one that I really don't like, but I really have to make you aware of. Romanticizing men is not just romanticizing the idea that they're your Prince Charming in the sense of wanting to be with you forever and run off to a land far, far away. It's also romanticizing the new brainwashing that women will aid you in brainwashing yourself with, which is be obsessed and only pay attention to the rich men who will spoil you, buy you bags, buy you purses, spend thousands of dollars on you. Where all my spending at is at. Spend that money fast, 20, 50s, 100s cash. Boy, going that, it's a fire song. But understand what's happening here. You are now convincing yourself that the only men for you are the men who will spend that money on you. I'm glad that men will spend money on you. I want you to be with men who will spend money on you. I'm not saying don't do that. What I'm saying is understand if the men are also observing that, they can realize, oh, you are romanticizing the tricks. You are romanticizing the men that will spend that money fast, okay? So now they know if I just present myself as a man who will spend that money fast, I don't actually have to do that for a long period of time. I just need to do it long enough that she believes that I am that man. Do you see how that works? It's not actually about being that person. It's about using what you're romanticizing as the perfect mask to make you believe that he is that person, let you let your guard down. When he spend that money fast, he gets inside you fast. When he spends that money fast, you believe in the idea of what you've been romanticizing, which is that the rich men, the baller men, the men that will spend that money are the ones that you should be looking for. He uses that mask, even if he doesn't plan on spending crazy, he just does it enough early on to make you believe that he's that person. You sleep with him fast, and he's like, perfect. I just wanted you to believe I was a trick long enough for me to sleep with you. Now that I done slept with you, I'm done with it. I don't need to trick on you anymore. Right? So even that can be front loaded because you're romanticizing it so much, they use it against you. This is why I say the only approach is to be logical in your understanding of what's important to you and what you're looking for, and on an ongoing basis, be observing and analyzing men's behavior to ask yourself, is he as serious as he pretends to be or says to be? Not just convincing yourself that I'm just looking for, because it's romanticizing in different things, whatever is your thing. Romanticizing your Prince Charming, romanticizing the perfect trick that will spend that money fast. And they can use either of those to get over on you. Right? Are we on the same page? Right? I think a certain type of woman can pull that off. Pull off what? Getting a man to spend that money fast? I'm not saying you can't get a man to spend that money fast. I'm just saying don't romanticize it to the point where men can actually use it to trick you. Because men are not dumb. They see that the things that you're consuming. They see the things that are becoming popular amongst women. So they understand, I just need to change my approach and my angle and fixate on whatever they're fixating on. Put on whatever mask they're all telling themselves that this is the men that we should be with. And as long as I pretend to be that person, even if I'm not that person, I get access to all the women. Do you see how that works? Right? Okay, right? So what I want to just touch on for our last point here is he will pretend to be that guy in whatever aspect you start to romanticize. You romanticize the men that'll spend money, he'll pretend to be that guy. You romanticize the man that is your Prince Charming and wants to be with you and run away to a land far, far away, he'll be that guy. Like whatever man you begin to overly romanticize in your mind that like, I'm not saying wanting and desiring something is wrong. What I'm saying is never ever convince yourself that a man is that man until you have consistent on an ongoing basis experience with the actual actions he's doing in the relationship and taking for you in the relationship and the things you're observing based on real experience. Not, oh, he says he'll spend a lot of money on me, so I'll believe he's a trick and he spends that money fast and I'll sleep with him fast. Not, oh, he says he wants to run away to a land far, far away with me, so I'll believe he's my Prince Charming and I'll treat it as if we're in love already, even though we haven't actually done anything that love would consist of. Okay? Someone says, as soon as I eat, I lose interest. Lose interest in what? Like as soon as you eat food, you lose interest in the man? Eat what? Okay. Someone said the richest man in the world has a messy personal life. Prime example. There you go, right? So Sabrina says, what kind of man do you like? What are you looking for? All I say is, I'll let you know if I see it. I love that. And, you know, that comes from the class that I like to mention. Sometimes it is good to play dumb. You can actually get a lot of information by playing dumb on people. I don't want to go too deep into that, but it definitely happens. Okay, does that make sense? You guys have any questions about the lesson here? By the way, go ahead and send in your lessons, your questions to the link in my description there to be on the show. It's also in the pinned comment to be on the show because I'm about to answer your personal relationship questions in just a second. I want to make sure that you guys all get your information on this lesson and we're all in agreement in how this lesson works. Plus the submission part is going to be really exciting. Okay? Right? We on the same page? This is a big one, important not to give away what your ideal man looks like. I 100% agree, right? Why dating apps are a scam? I personally believe dating apps are a scam. They actually are a scam mostly for women, not as much for men. When I say that, it's like they extract men's money for sure, more, but they scam women because the women on there are looking mostly for relationships and the men on there are using the fact that it's actually ironic we're talking about romanticizing. They understand that majority of the women on there are romanticizing the idea of being in a relationship. So it's a perfect vessel for them to pretend they want a relationship, even if they really don't, but just long enough that they can get access to those women, AKA sleep with those women, right? Does that make sense? So instead of my answering super chats, I mean, yeah, if there's a super chat that comes in, I will prioritize that as well. But I'm taking in submissions as well through the link for those of you that want to ask questions, okay? Let's hop right into, I told you, we're going to get very, very interesting here on the show. So let's hop right into our next segment, which is me taking your live questions on the show. This is going to be great. I added a lot of great, amazing elements to this, all right? So here, let me see here. Let me just exit this, pull this up on my screen. So I'm going to explain to you how this works. Like I said, you can send your submissions in through the link in my description and also in the pinned comment. And your question will pop up here for us. And we'll listen to it live on the show. Ideally, a voice message would be better because then we can hear your voice. If you send in a text, it will play an AI voiceover of your question and it will read it for all of us. So I just want you all to be aware, if you're ever hearing the same voice over again, some of them will be an AI voice reading out the actual submission of the question. These are all real questions. But some of them will be, you'll hear the real person's voice because they sent in a voice message, okay? So first question here that we have comes from Zay. By the way, what you're gonna see on the other side of the screen, you're gonna see the read along alongside the question. So when we're listening to the question, you can both listen to it, and if you're struggling to hear what the person is saying, you'll also be able to read on the screen exactly what they're saying with the words highlighted for each word that they're on or wherever we're at in the story, okay? So it's a great, amazing experience. I put a lot of work in for us to have a great experience with the question submission. So let's start off with Zay here.
Hi, Tomisin. I have a question regarding respect. I know that in patriarchy, women have kind of been socialized to be the good girl, to not rock the boat too much, to be easygoing in general, but that often gets women disrespected. And I wonder, what are the kind of behaviors that could maybe be a bit counterintuitive to me that tend to evoke respect in men that you believe women should probably use more of?
Okay, this is a great question, actually. So, Zay, in order to evoke respect, what I would say is it's not about, I don't want you all to think respect is about, being docile, you don't say anything, you only speak when spoken to, and you're just like a pawn. That's not what I think of when I think of respect. And I think that usually is when guys talk about respect in a relationship, that's where women's mind goes to a lot of times. When I think of the idea of respect, I think of it as, especially as a woman, but even as a man as well, making sure that you prioritize your partner's comfortability and happiness over the comfortability and happiness of other people. And making it clear to both him and other people that regardless of what you want or what you expect from me, I consider my partner's feelings and what he wants first because I'm with him and I want to make sure that he stays happy in our relationship. before I consider what all of you think I should be doing. An example of that would be like, okay, if me and my man have a conversation about a friend that, let's say it's a guy friend of mine, and we usually hang out one-on-one and we go to lunch and all this other stuff. I understand that I may have a friendship with this guy and I might not deem it to be inappropriate. But if my man comes to me and he says, hey, I've been observing your friendship with this guy, and some of the things that he said I found a little bit inappropriate. Some of the things that he's done I found a little bit inappropriate. Even some of the comments he's made has made me a little bit uncomfortable. And he gives you real examples, not just like, oh, I don't like that guy because I don't like him. He gives you real examples of things that have made him uncomfortable about your interactions with that guy, that he doesn't want you guys hanging out one-on-one anymore. In a group setting, it's fine, but he doesn't want you guys going out to lunch and stuff anymore. Let's just say, for the sake of example, part of respect in the sense that I think of is being able to say, you know what? You, as my boyfriend or my husband, I prioritize making you comfortable and making you happy before I prioritize my guy friend. So while, of course, I don't just want to like abandon everyone in my life and, make everyone disappear. If you're giving me valid reasoning for why a guy friend of mine makes you feel uncomfortable, I will take that in, accept that, and make an adjustment, because my priority is to make you comfortable and to make you happy, because you're my partner. I actually have to live with you and be with you, and we're the one that are gonna be going through our relationship. So if you're unhappy with me going out to lunch and having like lunch dates or meetups one-on-one with my guy friend, well then the adjustment has to be made because I prioritize your comfortability. That's what I think of when I think of respect, and respect in a way where a guy can be like, I really appreciate that. Because most people will want to naturally fight against that and be like, I want to do things my way. I want to do them how I want to do them. I don't want to sacrifice or put any of that. I've been friends with that person, so I'm going to continue being friends with that person, right? And of course, there's a difference between a man just being toxic and trying to get you to cut off everyone in your life. There's a difference between that and a man genuinely bringing up, hey, this situation makes me uncomfortable. When you did this, this makes me uncomfortable. I really don't like this, or this was upsetting to me. There's a difference between being toxic about it and genuinely expressing something that makes him uncomfortable. And I do believe that when women are very, very, I guess we could say, accepting of the fact that I want to prioritize my man's feelings towards something, as opposed to prioritizing, oh, well, my guy friend, he's going to be mad if we stop going out on lunch dates. Well, yeah, of course, he might be a little bit upset. But are you going to be in a relationship with your guy friend, or are you going to be in a relationship with your man? And I actually think this is something that goes both ways. But when I think about like the type of respect that men really appreciate, this definitely makes me think of that. Okay. And again, it doesn't have to be a toxic thing. It can just be a respecting of, I respect the fact that you are my man and I prioritize you, which I think is a great thing. I think your man should also prioritize your feelings and emotions as well in a relationship. Okay. Electric Feel, sorry, I should say. Welcome, Electric Feel. Donates $20 in the YouTube chat. Thank you so much, Electric Feel. I appreciate you. She asks a super chat question that says, went to the ER for surgery. Male nurse flirted with me for 5 days, compliments, asked me so many questions about myself. I like him. He literally saw me at my worst, do nothing. He can't come after me because of hospital policy. Well, there you go. Also, people in the hospital can be nice, but so what I want you to understand, Electric, I'm sure you're obviously attractive, and I'm sure that he probably is attracted to you, which is why he was flirting with you. But also you have to ask yourself, is he flirting with me in a way where he's so attracted to me that he would pursue me outside of this? Or is he flirting with me where he's attracted to me, but also it's great customer service, right? And I know it's a hospital, right? But customer service in the sense that, if he's a nurse to you and he makes you feel good, everyone feels good. You're the patient, you're there, you get a positive, experience being in the hospital, and you guys are flirting, having some flirtatious conversation. And also he has to be there anyways. He's getting paid to be there. I always ask the question of, if that guy is not willing to still flirt with you, talk to you, follow up with you when he's not being paid to be there, then he probably doesn't like you or is as interested as you're imagining that he is. Because a guy flirting with you at work, a guy flirting with you when he's being paid to be there, a guy flirting with you when you're pulling up to his work, maybe he's a barista or something at a coffee shop and you're flirting with him and you're like, every time I come into the coffee shop, we flirt together. Yeah, but he's also being paid to be there. And he would have to be there whether you guys were flirting or not. And then the other part of that, Electric Feel, is it being hospital policy that he can't contact you afterwards. Unfortunately, that led to the reality that you're probably going to have to let it go, which is why I say electric feel, and anyone else who's wondering, my always personal piece of advice is when it comes to the men that you date and see on a regular basis, make it a habit of building a routine around going places where you will encounter all types of different types of men in a way where the relationship can actually develop. Meaning, stop only just going home, to the grocery store, to the gym, and to work. If you only go to those 4 places, those are the only 4 places that people can run into you. I'm not saying the gym is a bad place for people to run into you, but it's harder to build romantic relationships in the gym because it's like the gym that's local to you. And then obviously work is a whole different monster in itself. So if there's only so many places you even go where men can encounter you, then you started to run into all these different problems where, for example, with electric feel, like you mentioned, if you're meeting a guy at a hospital, it's like he's not really even allowed to contact you. Whereas imagine if you met a guy at an event, now there's freedom where if you flirt with someone, he can actually follow up on you if he wanted to. And you don't have to worry about the idea of, did he flirt with me because he was getting paid to be there, or was he flirting with me more because he really actually found me interesting and wanted to explore a relationship with me? Okay? I hope that answers your question. Thank you for the super chat, by the way. $20 super chat, that's amazing. Let's go on to our next voice message here. This one, did we do Rita? Oh, I don't think we did Rita. This one, hold on, did this come from, oh no, this one is where, I want to prioritize the ones that come in voice because the ones that come in voice will be a better experience. Let's do Belle because I don't think we got a chance to do Belle's on the last show here.
Okay, so there's this.
Oh, this one was really quiet. I think Belle had to do a resubmission. Adara we did. Oh, Hall we did not do. These are words. I do want to prioritize the voice one. Voice. Okay, this is. Did we do Imani? We did Imani. We did Princess. Let me. Sorry, I'm just trying to organize myself. Oh, is this a second Ashley one? Let me see here.
Okay, I hope you can hear me now. So this guy did.
Oh no, this one's a little bit too quiet. Yaz we did, Snowflake we did. Let me refresh my page here because there's a bunch of new submissions. Marin we did. Oh, this one is from Chucky. Okay, let's see this one from Chucky. I don't think this one. I think this one is a read along though. It's not her actual voice.
I was seeing a guy for 2 months. We recently had an argument before his vacation about an STD test. I prefer partners who are clean and always require them to be tested, and he said he would do it. And then his test came out clear, and suddenly he asked me when I would get tested. I said I didn't mind, but I was confused as to why he would also want me to get tested since I already had a recent test and was okay to show him the result. But I did say if needed, I could do it. I just prefer it to be communicated directly rather than it being an expectation. He suddenly got judgmental and said he's questioning my values and principles. I did not want to continue the conversation and was pulling away because I felt disrespected. At this point, I was also starting to detach. The next day, he sent me a message about a concert ticket and was selling it, and he called me. I didn't answer. This was the same concert he was going to, and I also wanted to go with my friends separately, but the show was sold out. I sorted my own tickets anyway. The night before his flight, he called me 3 times at 4 a.m. and sent a message because I didn't answer. He said he really wanted to see me and that things got too tight. He asked me to give him a slot so he could call and that the time zones will be easier to match once he's back in his country. I saw the message but didn't reply again. At this point, I had ghosted him for 5 days. I eventually replied and let him know I'm very busy this weekend, but I could have some time after a gig I went to, but no worries if he's busy. I didn't follow up and totally forgot I even said this to him because I was genuinely busy. He replied 2 days later saying, "Hey, yeah, things are so hectic for me, but in a good way, and that he wants to talk after he's back in the same country because it'll be easier." To this message, I didn't reply. I left him on red for 5 weeks.
Wait. You leave a man on red for 5 weeks, like the relationship's over. Come on.
Follow up, didn't wish him on his birthday either. He is now back in my city, I think, because this is around the time frame he said he would be back. but I didn't check in. Was this just a power struggle?
Okay, so I do have to hold you a little bit accountable here, because if this guy you asked him to get an STD test, which is fine, and he asked you to get one back, I mean, that's equal footing. There's nothing inappropriate about that. So I'm not sure why you found it disrespectful for him to ask the same thing as you, number one. The other part about that is, I get how things kind of spiraled out of control after the awkwardness or you feeling disrespected about him asking for STD test. By the way, you asked him for one. But my real issue here is, if you guys get to a place where you're not having conversation for 5 weeks, like, we just have to, okay. Any guy I'm going to be in a relationship with, if we're not going to talk for more than 2 weeks, it's just done. It's done. Like, I get having issues with each other. I get not being able to necessarily come to an understanding with each other, and just kind of having a frustrating back and forth. But I'm stuck on the fact that if you guys haven't spoken in 5 weeks, because you said you didn't respond to his message and you guys just didn't speak, not only do I feel like he's not taking this that serious, I also genuinely feel like you don't care that much. Because if you have an issue with someone and then you're not going to speak to them for 5 weeks because of that issue, clearly it's not that important for you to solve the issue if in 5 weeks you can't be bothered to either respond to them or address that person. So it does go both ways. And I'm not saying that you're completely in the wrong or even he's completely in the wrong. What I think is kind of the frustration you guys were already having spilt over from the STD test into the fact that you guys were now having this weird back and forth, he's selling tickets and calling you, you're not answering, he's answering. And it's like, but then now when you get to a place where you guys aren't speaking for 5 weeks, you now have to say, okay, whatever our issues are, clearly we're not able to resolve them and we just have to move on with our lives. Because I don't even think you mentioned that he was your boyfriend. I think, I don't believe. Let me see if I could read this.
I was seeing a guy for 2 months.
You're seeing him for 2 months. So you guys weren't in a relationship like boyfriend and girlfriend. So all of this, 2 months, and you spend 5 weeks not speaking to him, time to move on with your life. Point blank, period. I can't make it any more simple than that, right? Let me see here. Let me pull this up. We did Marianne. Did we do Christina? I don't know if we did Christina. I think we did. Let me see if we did Christina.
Hi, Tomisin. My question is...
Oh, yes, we did do Christina. Sam, we just did. Oh, did we? No, we have to do Sam's. I think this will be interesting. I seen the summary.
Why my BF, 33-year-old, cheated on me with his ex, 41-year-old, who is older than him. I found texts, videos, and photos like a year ago. But he said she was in the past. Later, some months ago, I found he is still talking to her, calling her by cute names. But for me, he offended me when he is angry. I am younger than him, 31-year-old, not a teen, but I feel very concerned of why that lady is catching his attention. As soon as I started watching your videos, I feel like I've been doing everything wrong. So I DK what to do now. Not sure if he is a bad man. Not sure if I should just leave him. Why I feel so dependent of him. Sorry if I ask so many questions. Love you, Tomisin. Thanks for everything you do for us.
Okay. There's no redeeming qualities to this. Okay? I don't want you to... I know it's very difficult because when you are with a guy and you see him seemingly choose another woman, the first question in your mind is, why is he choosing that woman over me? Like, what does she have that I don't have? But that can be a very toxic mindset because then you start constantly comparing yourself when guys can cheat for a plethora of reasons that have nothing to do with you. It's actually tomorrow's show where I'm going to talk about the idea of how to handle when a man hurts you, but you have to stop personalizing a lot of the things that men do. Most of the time, these men are just selfishly thinking about themselves and what they want and what they need and not thinking about you when they do things that hurt you. I know it sounds crazy, but like, it's just, they're just so fixated on like, I want to get what I want. If I want pleasure, I get pleasure. If I like whatever it is that they need in that moment, that's what they're thinking and focusing on when they make those actions majority of the time. And so personalizing it to yourself and thinking, what did I do wrong? Is my ass not fat enough? Did I not wear the tightest pair of jeans, or whatever the case may be, is really toxic. Because now you're just comparing, you're gonna watch her social media, you're gonna look at her stories, you're gonna analyze her facial features and everything about her to basically compare yourself on, why do I not get chosen over this girl? They could have history in their relationship. There could be a bunch of stuff that went on in their relationship that you're just unaware of. He could also just be emotionally immature. Maybe he doesn't know what he wants. Maybe he's he's comfortable with her. Maybe she lives close. Like, there's so many different factors, so many different. What you have to just, to make your life simple, is realize the men that want to be with me will show me how much they want to be with me by respecting me and respecting our relationship. The men that don't want to be with me will also show me they don't want to be with me by disrespecting me and disrespecting our relationship. Once a man disrespects me and shows me he does not want to be with me seriously in a relationship, I will let him go, and I will stop putting time and energy into thinking about why he doesn't want to be with me. Because at the end of the day, if you focus all your time and energy on all the men that don't want to be with you, you will never get to give that energy to the men who actually want to be serious with you. So I'm not saying it's bad for you to look back and analyze and try and figure things out. But when we're talking about, oh, a man cheated on me with his ex, what am I supposed to do? You're supposed to move forward in your life, right? And you're supposed to give yourself new goals to attain. And I think when we're talking about moving forward from a relationship, I think the new goal should always be putting yourself back out there. I'm not saying putting yourself back out there, oh, I'm gonna go to the club and shake my ass. No, I'm saying putting yourself back out there in life, just doing things that you enjoy, that outside of a relationship, outside of a man, so that you can find your routine and your happiness and your foundation of happiness again without being in a relationship, that you can genuinely value what it feels like to be single because you're happy while being single. Does that make sense? Okay. Let's hit done on this. And then let's go to our next question. Is this one, why does that say AI? Why did you submit that like that? I want to see, so we did Zay, right? We just did Zay. I want to see Rita. Did we do Rita? Let me see if we did Rita. Oh, no, let me, I didn't mean to do that. I think we did do Rita though. Ooh, let's do L.
My BF doesn't want me to practice self-pleasure, and if I do, he threatens to break up with me. His reason for that is cause of his first GF.
Hold on. Hold on. What was that?
My BF doesn't want me to practice self-pleasure, and if I do, he threatens to break up with me. His reason for that is cause of his first GF that was addicted to pineapples. Do you think that it is a real boundary trauma or a way to oppress me?
I want to read that question again because I was shocked.
My BF doesn't want me to practice self-pleasure, and if I do, he threatens apples. My BF doesn't want me to practice self-pleasure, and if I do, he threatens to break up with me. His reason for that is cause of his first GF that was addicted to pineapples. Do you think that it is a real boundary trauma or a way to oppress me?
By the way, for those of you who are new here, pineapples means sex. We just use it as a terminology to kind of mask instead of saying it all the time. I am very concerned that I don't think that this relationship's going to work out how it's going, because sex is obviously a really big part of your relationship. I have actually a bunch of questions. My first question is, are you self-pleasuring with him there, or are you self-pleasuring like when you're away from him? If you're self-pleasuring with him there, I would ask you a question, L. Why do you feel the need to self-pleasure if he's there? That's number one. Now, if he's not there, that's totally a different story. But I also want to ask the question of, I understand everyone goes through trauma. I'm not saying that his trauma is invalid or anything like that, but I also question, was his ex-girlfriend, and this is a conversation you probably have to have with your boyfriend, was his ex-girlfriend actually a sex addict, or was his girlfriend just had a really high libido and he has a low libido? Do you get what I'm saying? Because there's a difference there. Like, I know in today's day and age, we all want to like diagnose ourselves, but just because someone has a high libido, that doesn't mean that they're a sex addict. And I think that your boyfriend is taking it a little bit far by diagnosing her with a sex addiction simply because she has a high libido and maybe he doesn't. And my other question is, if you're self-pleasuring and you enjoy that, or you're self-pleasuring because you feel like you're not getting enough from your boyfriend, you now have to have a serious conversation with him and get to know whether or not you guys are even sexually compatible. Because my concern is, you probably, if you're self-pleasuring regularly, you probably have a pretty high libido, which is okay. That's perfectly fine. But if your boyfriend does not, this is going to be a major problem. I will warn you, Elle, right now, just so you're aware, trying to force a relationship with a man who has a drastically different libido than you will never work out. Especially as a woman, you will be so unbelievably frustrated, sexually, mentally, and emotionally, you will never, ever be able to truly be happy in this relationship. On top of that, you will be on the verge of cheating almost every day. Because every single day, you'll be like, my small pee-pee boyfriend doesn't want to tie me down to the mattress, pin me against the wall, and do the F out of me. And you will feel so frustrated with the fact that you just want him to like take control, that you, like when you meet men who like are more masculine and you know they'll speak to you a certain way, even men that might boss you around, and might shut up, go do this, and you'll be like, oh my God, what? Why am I wet when you just said okay, I'll go do it, sir. Yes, sir. And you'll find yourself fantasizing about men that take control and about men that, like, you know what I mean? Like they make you feel more womanly because they're more masculine, because you're not getting that proper sexual pleasure in your romantic relationship. Again, that's very bad for both of you, because it's only going to make him feel worse, and it's only going to make you feel more guilty, because the more you're going to want to stop feeling these things and thinking these things, the more you're just going to feel and think these things, right? And someone said in the chat as well, they said it's about control. I also think there's an element of control there as well, which is he wants to control the fact that he knows that if he can get you to stop doing this, then you know, he has control over you basically in every aspect. He has control even over your pleasure. But I think the deeper part is the insecurity, right? And being insecure about the fact that maybe you have a high libido and he's sensing your libido is just as high as his last girlfriend. Trust me, it's only a sex addiction if your partner doesn't want to have sex as much as you. When two people, and I've been in some situations where two people have very high libidos, trust me, it don't feel like a sex addiction. When you're both very into each other and you're both very attracted to each other and you both have very high libidos, it does not feel like no sex addiction. It feels like both parties are very, very happy and very satisfied with their relationship. So just let that be clear and be known to you, so that you're not confused on, you know, what that actually means. Because I guarantee you, when he's saying my ex had a sex addiction, she didn't go to no clinic and get diagnosed. He's just saying that as a euphemism for the fact that she has a high libido and he probably doesn't have as high one. Or maybe he's also insecure about his PP being small. You never know. That also can be a thing. Just saying. Okay, let's go to our next question here. I think we did that, Ashley. Snowflake, yes. Belle, we couldn't hear Belle very well. Adara, we did yesterday. Cindy, we did, not yesterday, we did it on like Friday, I think. Hall, this one is in words. Okay, let me see. Let me see here. If I refresh this. Oh, damn, we got some more here. Okay, I do want to, oh, what the hell? Sorry, I'm just trying to quickly go through and see what was done and what wasn't. Chucky, we did. Okay, so what we'll do is we'll do Hall's here. Okay, Hall's is another readout. So this is Hall's question read out by an AI reader. So, but it's her actual question.
Hi. I'd love your take on how to handle a man who is clearly trying to spin the block after fumbling me. About 2 years ago, I cut him off after he entered a relationship with another woman he had also been sleeping with. I knew we weren't exclusive and never asked him to handle a man who is clearly trying to spin the block after fumbling me. About 2 years ago, I cut him off after he entered a relationship with another woman he had also been sleeping with. I knew we weren't exclusive and never asked him to be. What bothered me was that he volunteered, completely unprompted, that he wasn't seeing anyone else. Once he entered that relationship, I unfollowed him, removed him from my life, and moved on. He recently resurfaced. He requested to follow me again, and I accepted because I genuinely thought, I've moved on. If you want to look at my life, go ahead. I didn't follow him back because I have absolutely no interest in his. Almost immediately, he started pushing to catch up. I told him how busy I was and had to set some fairly clear boundaries around the fact that I wasn't organizing anything with him right now. Since then, he's continued sending these tiny, low-effort bids for attention. My name, an old nickname, catch up as one word, tomorrow night, with no actual plan. He also reacts to or likes nearly everything I post.
Are we talking about while he's still in this relationship? Holy.
I have had an emotional connection with him in the past, and I find him physically attractive. But I know far too much about his unchanged character now. I see avoidant tendencies, inconsistency, flakiness, and a history of cheating within relationships. None of that is what I'm looking for in a healthy, secure, emotionally available partner.
Okay, it sounds like you're about to put a but here, because you keep saying that you know he's not a partner that you'd be looking for, but you definitely sent in this question about him. So what are you about to say in the second half of this message?
I'm also fully aware that this resurgence probably isn't happening because his life is going wonderfully and he has suddenly had some profound revelation about me. He hasn't acknowledged what happened, not that I need him to, apologized, asked why I'm distant, or approached me with any real intention. To me, these messages feel like tiny bids saying, don't reject me, don't abandon me, don't hold me accountable for my behavior, give me something, reassure me that I still affect you. But he keeps each bid deliberately low effort, so he never has to look vulnerable. So my question is, does a man like this, who seems to have very poor boundaries, eventually reach a point where he thinks, she's clearly ignoring me, continuing to message her is becoming intrusive and disrespectful, I need to stop? Or because I'm giving him absolutely nothing, will he simply keep testing the door? Do I need to explicitly close it? And if so, what is the cleanest, briefest way to do that? I don't want to explain his behavior back to him like I might have years ago, revisit the past, or give him some detailed emotional account of why I'm no longer interested. Part of me would admittedly find it satisfying for the rejection to sting a little. Essentially, I've seen enough, I respect myself, and I'm no longer interested.
Okay, thank you, Hall, for your question. Great details. Now, if you feel like you're no longer interested in this guy, perfect. But now we have to understand, if you're no longer interested in this guy, why do we care what he thinks? Why do we care how he feels? Why do we care how you break it off? Keep it simple for yourself. Block him. Keep it simple for yourself. Like, unfollow him, remove him as a follower, block him on social media, block him his number, block him on Facebook, block him on Snapchat if you're on that, block him on WhatsApp, block him everywhere. And then you no longer have to see his messages, and you no longer have to care if it's low effort, if it's high effort, if it's medium effort. You just don't care. You've moved on with your life. Because the reason I'm saying this is, Paul, in your message, you laid out clearly, there's lots of multiple reasons why you don't want to be with a man like him, based on not just your experience with him personally, but the man that you've seen him become and be. There's a lot of things that you've noticed that you're like, I don't want that to be my man, right? Because I wouldn't want to be in a relationship with a man who does those things, which is fine. I'm glad that you've recognized that. Now that you've recognized that, the question becomes, why do we even put any energy into this man at all anymore? Your focus should be on, okay, I don't want this man, so him messaging me is pointless. Anytime I respond, then I'm also acknowledging that this is pointless. So then at that point, it's like, why am I continuing to participate in a pointless activity? I should just block him so that I no longer have to participate in the pointless activity. Do you get what I'm saying? I think you're making it a little bit more complicated for yourself, because you almost like want to have some big, like, oh, I'm going to tell him off, or, you know, like some big reveal where it's like, this is my exit, my grand exit. Don't do that. Just block him. Don't explain anything to him. If he tries to contact you from a different number, block that number too. Like, you don't need to do any more explaining. And like you said, you're past that point. And so if you already know you're not going to be with this guy, you're past that point, nothing he can really say is going to change your mind, just block him so you can move on with your life and not have to worry about how you're going to answer any of his questions. It's actually that simple, okay? Let's click done here. I don't like the name AI. Send in at least your real name if you're going to send in a question. that we did else, or at least the initial. Saying AI just makes it feel like you didn't even come up with your own question. I do believe we did Ashley's as well. Oh, maybe we didn't do Ashley's. Let me see.
Okay, so this guy asked me out many times.
Oh, it was hard to hear. This one was hard to hear too. Ashley, if you want to submit your question, do make it a little bit easier to hear. Adara we did, Cindy we did. Oh, did we do Cindy's? Let me see.
So this guy has asked me out on dates many times, but every time it has been in the last minute. And I was really pissed about it, and I told him that, why the F do you think that I'm available for you 24/7 when I never am? That's just delusional. And that one time, like just last night, and last night when we were on call and I said that you can tell me 2 hours before you get off, because we are, remind you, we're in the same career, like we have the same type of jobs, like, you know, and I know his type of job, like he doesn't know when he's gonna get off and stuff, you know, even after like 12 hours shift or something. So I know that. And I was like, okay, if you don't know when you're gonna get off and, you know, go out on for the date. And so I was like, just tell me 2 hours before. And then I took it back, actually, when I said that, you know, what I said before that, do you think I'm available for you 24/7? And then I said that what I said in our call just last night, I said that because I was tired. I think before speaking, I didn't think about my jobs and my availability. If I would have thought about it, I would have never said that. So basically, Tommy, I said the exact same reply which you just said in your live right now, that, you know, tell him that you don't want last minute plans. Now, this was like, I don't know, 4 days ago or something, 4 or 5 days ago. Now, I don't know what to do now. Like, what should I do now? You know, it's been like 4 or 5 days. And also, how can I know that this guy is not a fake ass, like, or a lust digger, you know, and just here for the, you know, for the lustful stuff or whatever? Like, how can I know that it's real or it's fake? And I want to keep this really short, but like, he came back to me after 7 years. We used to be classmates,
7
actually. We
years.
used to be pretty close, actually. 7 years ago when we both were in uni. And we both liked each other like a lot, but, you know, and we just confessed to each other like now 7 years later, and I was like, it's your fault. You know, because you didn't initiate anything and all that jazz, and stuff happened like 7 years ago as well. So yeah, I'm gonna keep it short, and I just want to know, what should I do right now?
Okay, great question, Cindy. So to answer your question simply, since you've already gone through the step of letting him know, hey, I don't do last minute plans, I have stuff to do, my life is busy, if you're gonna make last minute plans with me, you're not really gonna get access to me. Now, what needs to happen is you must let him know, well, not let him know through your non-response, I have already made it clear to you what my expectation is. I have already made it clear to you that if you wanna get access to me, it has to be done this way. You defying that by proceeding to ask me out 2 hours before a date, or, you know, basically do the same thing, you are now telling me you either don't care that I made it clear what my boundary is, or you're openly defying it to the point where you're saying, no, you say that this is your boundary, and I'm gonna make sure it's not your boundary. Because I get my way, you don't get to call the rules and the shots here. I see you when I feel like seeing you. Either way, you have to show him that your word is law. You've already communicated to him, this is my boundary. So now when he asks you on a date 2 hours before, don't even respond. Don't even like the message. Don't acknowledge the message at all, because you don't need to. You've already made it clear what your boundary is. Trust me, he's not so stupid that he won't be able to figure out why you're not responding to him when he asks you for another last minute plan after you already told him you don't do last minute plans. He will figure it out. And even if he doesn't, you don't need to be with the guy that dumb. I just have to call it how it is and be really blunt about it. If you let him know, my expectation is this, and he chooses not to abide by that expectation, he is showing you how he really feels. That's action. So any words that he might say, because you said, oh, we confessed to each other our love for each other after 7 years, words, okay? When it comes to real actions about how he really feels about you, you gave him a boundary, he couldn't even stick to that. You can't feel sorry for guys who can't, very simple, make a plan. Do it a couple days in advance. We're all grown adults. You should be able to foresee your routine, your plan and schedule for the week in advance enough that for 2 hours or however long we hang out, you plan that out a couple of days in advance. If that's too hard for you, then bro, you're just not that serious about a relationship. Like, you have to be that, like strict with yourself and not allow yourself to fall into the trap of thinking, oh, but what if it's this, what if it's that? What if it's that he's not serious? Because that's what it is. And so no need to call out anything anymore. You've already said what you needed to say. No need to message him back. And if he's just going to continue, hey, what's up? Hey, how you doing? Oh, you want to hang out today? Oh, every time he continues to say that, you don't even respond. Okay? All right? Abby says, can we please respond to my question? Where's your question, Abby? I don't see your question here. I don't see an Abby. Where's Abby? Did you put it under Abby or is it under someone else's, another name? Abby Carter. This one was from, so we did Cindy. So let's hit done on that. We did do Yaz, I believe, too, as well, right? That I've known for 5 minutes. We broke up. Reason being. Let me see if we did Yaz, actually.
So I was with a guy for 5 months and we broke up 2 months ago. Reason being that he just started displaying behaviours I didn't quite like. Of course, to which I told him I didn't like them and he kept repeating them and I only gave him 2 chances. So it really was when I went on vacation and he decided not to speak to me for 10 days. 10 days!
Yes,
So of course by the third...
We did do Yaz on another show. I remember this. Snowflake, I do remember we did her. Belle, we couldn't hear, right?
Okay, so there's this guy.
Yeah, it was really hard to hear Belle. So Belle, come do yours again. Adara, we did. So now we're on, I don't know how to pronounce this name. Snigda? Snigda? Okay, I think this is a read along. So this isn't her actual voice, but this is her actual question read out loud.
So, there was a guy in my life whom I loved the most, gave all of me. Still, he cheated on me twice, used and abused me, and gave me the biggest trauma. I had his baby. Last deck got to know I was preg. I was shocked as well as happy, as I really wanted a family with him. But at the end, I couldn't keep my baby's name. It was 11 weeks the day I lost my child. Trust me, I tried until the last moment, and he blocked me and didn't take the responsibility of his own blood. I still wonder whether my child was a boy or girl. How would my baby look like? Like, honestly, I lost everything the day I lost my child. And guess what? If my little baby was with me now, I would literally meet my baby just in a few days. But now that's not going to happen, which is the painful truth ever. I failed as a mom. I miss my Noor very much, trust me. It just breaks me from...
You didn't fail as a mom because you couldn't carry your baby to term. That's not the failure. Like, you can't think of it like that. Like, of course you did your best and there's things that happen that are outside of your control. You can't put that responsibility on yourself when life's like you were not able to control that, truthfully and honestly. Of course, if you wanted to have the baby in your world and for your intention, you would have had it, right? So there's nothing that you could have done more.
I miss my Noor very much, trust me. It just breaks me from apart realizing what I did. Even though I was in a vulnerable situation with no support and pressure, I tried until the last moment. Sometimes I feel like dying, trust me. I love my child. I miss my little innocent soul so much.
So this is a really tough, I understand it's just an overall tough situation. And of course, I know ideally you would have had the baby and ideally you'd have brought that life into the world. So I know that that's disappointing for you. But I don't want you to put so much of that weight and burden on yourself as like some sort of failure or reflection on who you are as a human, because it's not, right? Like, there are not just you, but lots of women that go through the disappointment of trying to carry a baby to term and not being able to for whatever reason. But of course, you love your child and you would ideally want to have a healthy child. So it's not you being a bad person because you weren't able to carry the baby to term, right? And I also do feel bad because I'm sure part of that contributing to that was the stress of the relationship. And I want to give you what might not feel like a silver lining, but what can be a silver lining when you think about life in totality, which is if you were to have that baby, you now have a father that we don't know what type of trauma he's going to cause that child in the relationship that he has with both you and that child. And while I'm not going to pretend like you're not going through immense pain and immense hurt, which I sympathize and empathize with you 100%, I also want you to realize and acknowledge that it is quite possible that if you had that baby with this man specifically that caused you so much trauma that you didn't end up having the baby, that you might be in a lifetime's worth of pain and trauma that the man you had a baby with is now attached to you essentially for life and can play with you for life and can go back and forth in and out of your life. And you know what I mean? Just basically make it so that he is the most toxic person in your life, but you can't get rid of him because he is the father of your child. I'm not saying that that makes the situation you're going through any better, but what I am saying is sometimes, as much as we might be hurting about something that happened to us, there are other realities in which even if we got what we wanted, sometimes it isn't even what we actually wanted. Or sometimes it even leads to a more traumatizing situation in a way that you can't predict, because obviously right now you're fixated on the loss of your baby. So you're not thinking about what if I had the baby and this happened, right? And I get that. I'm not saying that makes your pain any less painful. I'm just saying that's part of understanding that sometimes life happens in a way where you have to accept that outcomes are the outcomes. And as hard as it can be, that the outcomes you cannot control, you can't live with regret for the rest of your life and not at least try to move forward. Because I understand not having this baby is very difficult. But if you allow not having this baby to prevent you from finding love, to prevent you from exploring relationships, to prevent you from living life, and you just sit at home and do nothing all day and be sad about this situation, I promise you it will make this life that you're in way harder to deal with. The best thing you can do, I'm not saying, oh, get up and move on, but start by putting yourself around people that love you and the people that you love unconditionally. So that doesn't mean dating men, family, friendships, girlfriends that love you unconditionally. Remind yourself how much love there is in your life, how abundant the amounts of love there is in your life, and that people, they care about you, they want to see you win, they support you, they empathize with you, and they want you to get better. Just surround yourself with those people first so that you can gain some of your spark back again. And remind yourself that even though you don't have this baby that you could have had, there still is lots of love in your life, unconditional love in your life, lots of support in your life. Because the worst thing when you're going through like a season of what feels like depression is to feel like there is no love existing in your life at all, which is just not true. But it can start to make you spiral down that path, okay? I hope that helps there, Signa. Adara's message we did do. I remember doing Adara's message. Chucky we just did. Liz, let's see Liz here. Okay, I think some of these are, wait, why is it doing this? Okay, so this one comes from Liz. Let's see what Liz has to say.
Do you think guys do a lot of these things on purpose?
A lot of what things? I think that wasn't a complete message. Liz, send in a complete message so that we can get a full sense of what you're talking
My
about.
problem seems to be that I'm overly logical. I expect to be disappointed. This can also backfire because you're expecting the worst, which can be a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Okay, why is that? Sorry, it's giving the wrong summary here. This is kind of bothering me. I don't think there's a problem with being logical. Now, when you say overly logical, there's a difference between being logical and being a pessimist. Do you get what I'm saying? So you're saying that you're overly logical, which is leading to you expecting to be disappointed, but that's not what being overly logical is. Being logical is understanding that my situation can end in a positive way and we can be together and things could work out if I see these things from that person, and being very logical about what you must see from a man in order to be in a relationship with him. But also, right, on the opposite end of the spectrum, it's also saying that a lot of positive things can happen, because if I do see these things, then that probably means that me and him are actually should be together, and this is a relationship worth exploring. I think what you're actually referring to is being a pessimist, where you believe that everything, like when you're dating guys, it's like it's always gonna not work out. Like he's definitely gonna disappoint me, he's definitely gonna go bad on me, he's definitely gonna cheat on me or lie to me, which is totally different from being logical. And I think from that standpoint, you have to first address whatever trauma it is that's causing you to feel that way. Then you have to start putting yourself in new environments to reshape your feelings towards men. Because, for example, if you only date men that you meet on dating apps, you might start to feel like men only want sex, or men are always gonna lie to you about their wanting a relationship when they really just want sex, and then they're gonna ghost you. Well, that's partially because your experiences have come with men that you only meet on dating apps. Whereas if you start meeting men, let's just say out in the wild at random events, you might feel like, men do have interesting conversations, and some of them are down to earth. Obviously, some of them are weird, but some of them can have good conversations and be down to earth. But the reason your narrative is changing is because your environment is changing, so the type of men you're meeting is changing, right? So I think that probably your experiences are leading you to be pessimistic. So the actual answer is addressing your experiences and why you're having them. And if your environment is contributing to why you're having them, to then change your environment, to then change the type of men you're meeting, which will then change your experiences, which will then change you from being constantly pessimistic into being more optimistic based on your experiences, okay? That was S, or this is S. Let me see what S says.
Tomisin just here to say, when I watch your show, I remember how you said, women often compliment your nose, LMAO. Love your show.
Thank you. People do. That's probably, I'd probably say the number one compliment I get, maybe teeth or smile, but nose for sure. It's a big one. I used to think, I'm like, why? Who's paying attention to my nose? But apparently there's a size and shape to nose that's very ideal. So maybe I was blessed with that, which is great. Thank you, S, for your kind compliment. Snig? Is this a real name? Snig?
So there's a guy in my uni that I started liking from the last 3 weeks. Then we started talking, spending time together, and made some great memories. Then one night I got to know he was married and divorced, but I was already attached. We made more memories, went to a movie. And yesterday I just told him I like him, but he continuously changed the topic to time together.
We made
8 weeks.
memories.
Then we started
When you say we made memories, you keep saying we made memories. Are you talking about sex?
talking, spending time together, and made some great memories. Then one night I got to know he was married and divorced, but I was already attached. We made more memories, went to a movie. And yesterday I just told him I like him, but he continuously changed the topic and didn't say anything relating to that. Later on he texted me, actions are more important than words. I prefer making people feel the affection rather than just saying it, and I do like the pace of this, and some things are lovely when unconditional. Do you only speak to me because you want to hear some specific words? I left it on read. Now my question is, should I walk away from this or keep trying and trying?
What I would want to ask you, Snig, is how did you find out that he was married and divorced? And what is the reason for him being married and divorced? Because this can tell you a lot. I really feel like the answer is not in what do you say to him or to get him to tell you what his intention is. I think the real answer in understanding who this man is in understanding what he's been through and what he's experienced in his past relationships. Because getting married, it's not a crime to get divorced, but you do want to understand, how do you go from you like someone, you get engaged to them, you believe you're going to spend the rest of your life with them, so you marry them, and then something goes wrong, something has to go wrong, that you then decide you have to get divorced. Not saying that that's a crime or he's a bad person for having that. I'm concerned though that you had to find that out in a weird, strange way other than him just telling you, being upfront about it. And I'm also concerned of what is the actual reason that happened, because you don't get divorced for no reason. So getting an understanding of what that reason is will give you a lot of understanding of where is he now. Because let's just say hypothetically, the reason that he got divorced is because he has a corn addiction. Well, that's gonna affect you now, right? Obviously, he might not say that, but I'm just using that as an example of how what someone went through and the reason they got divorced might still be something present in your relationship with him. Wouldn't you want to know that and understand that to say, hey, I'm the same way, or we're likely to go through the same process because what we're experiencing here is very similar to what you were experiencing in your marriage. And I know you're thinking, well, wouldn't he know that and wouldn't he realize that? Yeah, but also he might not want to do anything about it because he might also not be taking this as serious as you do. So this is part of the process of understanding if a guy had an issue before that led to his divorce and he's having the same issue now, is he really taking a relationship with me as serious as I think he's taking it if he's not willing to even fix or adjust the problem? Because part of the reason he wouldn't want to fix or adjust the problem is if he feels like, I'm just here to have fun. I'm not really here to build a real relationship. So you telling me about the things we need to fix or adjust is pointless because I just want to have fun. The real fun memories for you is feeling like a priority and having consistency, not the version of memories that you are talking about, Snig. I don't like those type of memories. Okay, Beauty. You guys like to use aliases when you submit your questions, huh? Beauty says,
Hi, Tomisin. I'm probably in a relationship right now with someone I don't think I want to remain with long term. For context, I got into with dating because I want an internship at a place his dad's work right. I haven't still gotten.
Okay, at least you're honest. At least you're honest.
Hi, Tomisin. I'm probably in a relationship right now with someone I don't think I want to remain with long term. For context, I got into with dating because I want an internship at a place his dad's work right. I haven't still gotten that because it isn't time yet, but he loves me, and I think it would really hurt him when I decide to leave. I don't know how best to leave. We might be working in the same place by the time I decide to leave.
Beauty, just be fair to the guy, okay? End the relationship. Like, I don't want to say advancing in your career is bad, but I am a firm believer in karma. I understand we all kind of, need stepping stones to get to where we want to go, but I think there's a boundary there morally, which is, sure, trying to put yourself in the best position to win, I don't have a problem with that. But when you start, like, you're playing a guy and making him feel like, you're wanting to be in a relationship with him, you don't really want to be in a relationship with him but you're just pretending to so that you can get, a job at this workplace. I get why you're doing it, but I also think that that's bound to backfire on you in ways that you obviously can't anticipate now. And I feel like you could still get a job or an internship at a really good company and get a really good job without having to play with someone's whole feelings and emotions, right? And I think the best thing for you to do to kind of undo whatever karma you're creating by doing this is by letting him know straight up, hey, like, I'm not interested in a relationship, like, I appreciate you, but it's just not going to work out. And then letting the chips fall where they may. If that means you lose your internship or you don't get the job or whatever, cool. But at least you can have it off your contract, because as time goes on, you're going to have to continue keeping up with the lie. So, like, how long are you going to keep up with the lie before you finally just say, you know what, like, I need to let this go? Like, are you going to marry the guy and you're still just trying to keep up with this lie with the guy that you don't want to be with? Like, the longer it goes on for, the harder it is to end. So it just needs to end so that you can move on. Okay? Someone says karma isn't real. Okay. Believe what you want to believe. I'm just saying, for myself, I do believe that if you put bad energy out there, you will receive something very similar in return. That's my belief. However you want to describe it, whether you want to call it karma, whatever, I do believe there's something to be said for that. Okay? So let's go on to our oopsie, didn't mean to do that. Let's go on to our next question. This one comes from Cleopatra.
Hey, Tomisin. Great show. I got one question. When should we train men and when should we let them? In context of your show on how to train men like a dog. If we train them for actions which we don't like, they'll learn the pattern and will not repeat them. Not all, but some will stop till they want benefits from you. But then how we can judge that that's their true character or nature? Under which circumstances we should let them and extend their behavior so that we can make a better judgment of their true identity.
Sorry, the water went to my throat there. Sorry. Sorry about that. So to answer your question, Cleopatra, sorry, this is the wrong summary. Let me go back to the page here. To answer your question, Cleopatra, in terms of judging, or sorry, making sure that a guy is acting like his real character and not just changing who he is based on what you don't like and what you've trained him to do, all of that is just simply about consistency. Of course, if you ask a guy to make an adjustment like, hey, I don't like last minute plans, and he makes an adjustment tomorrow, sure, theoretically, he's making an adjustment on you based on the fact that you addressed it, and obviously he wants to make that adjustment because you've addressed it. But at a certain point, he either has to decide to continue with that adjustment, or he's going to go back to doing what he was doing at the beginning. If he decides to go back to doing what he was doing at the beginning, at that point, you have to make sure that you now are very aware of, okay, I clearly explained my boundary. He made an adjustment for 2 weeks. Now he's all of a sudden going back to doing what he was doing before. So the adjustment was temporary. So it really is about the consistency of the adjustment. And if he, after you have that conversation with him, makes the adjustment and then he sticks to that. Some men will and some men won't. Just like when we talked about the idea of like training your dog, you will train your dog and you'll teach him something and he'll understand something. And some dogs will try and revert back to what they were doing. Now, there's a difference between dogs that completely just ignore what you said, go right back to what they're doing, and don't take heed into your training at all. And there's also a difference between that and maybe it's like, oh, he got better and he progressed, but there's still one part that upsets you or bothers you. And then you need to make a little bit of an adjustment there, but there is progression. So I don't want you to think that, oh, if a man doesn't do it perfectly right the first time, then it's worth throwing away, because there can still be progression without it necessarily being perfect, but the progression is clearly showing that he cares about making the change and he's at least trying to make an adjustment because there's a balance there. Does that make sense? Okay. Let's see here. Who do we have? Oh, we got some voices here from people that sent in a question. This one comes from Lola. Lola, like the fish in Shark Tales. Okay, let's listen to Lola's message here.
Hi, Tomisin. Hope you're well. Thanks for doing an incredible show for all the women. I share your channel with so many friends, and it's changed my life and also my friends for the better. So I have spent the guy I started recently dating a time at his villa in France. He invited me there, which was very kind. He paid for my flight tickets. However, we only spent before a weekend. So this was, as I said always to him, step-by-step situation. I don't want to rush into anything and make any promises, and I'm in a very observant mode anyway. However, he has been on and off, so he showed me a lot of care, and he did organize really nice things for me while I was there. However, we had a little friction over when he was laughing to his friend about my body being really hot in apparently temperature, which I didn't.
Okay, temperature. Sorry, I was gonna pause it for a second. Okay.
For me while I was there. However, we had a little friction over when he was laughing to his friend about my body being really hot in apparently temperature, which I didn't take lightly. I tried to say that to him a couple of times, but there were always friends around, so we didn't have a proper moment to approach him about this. And then one night I felt that he pushed me to the edge of the bed, which I didn't like at all, and I was really upset. And then last night, one more night was really good, and then there was a night when he made a really mean comment, and I really took off and lashed out, and I said that this was very rude, and I knew that that was something I will not accept. So I was really proud of myself because the next day he did apologize, and he felt very sad because actually didn't expect to see that. And now I reevaluate everything. I think there was a bit of miscommunication between us, although I was really proud of myself because I set my boundaries very clear, and I did leave his apartment and another place, but I'm not far from him, and he did send me more messages about how sad he is about the situation. So I wonder, is it worth it to actually still see him and have a conversation, because maybe it is something that I did, I took it basically a little bit too personally. So that's where I wonder about if it was me who could have said that earlier.
Okay, great question, Lola. So to answer your question here, I do believe that there's something to be said for the beginning of the relationship. There's going to be some growing pains. Now, let me be very clear, because I know some of you might take this the wrong way. I'm not saying expect a man to act bad and just tolerate him acting bad. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is there will be times at the beginning of your relationship with a man where there can be miscommunications, there can be misunderstandings, and because you guys don't actually know each other well enough to know what triggers the other person, one person might inadvertently or accidentally say something that's triggering in nature to the other one, right? Whether it's you or him. And it's like, whoa, like, why would you say that? And then there's a big fight or a blow up or whatever the case may be, or a disagreement. From that point, though, that's where you have to now evaluate. For example, if he says something that's triggering to you and upsetting to you, is he able to like work through the problem with me and have a conversation about it and apologize for his part, and we have an adult conversation and come to an understanding of, hey, this makes me uncomfortable. I don't like when you said this. This upset me. This is why it upsets me. This is my childhood trauma and how it relates to that and all this other stuff. And let's say he does that as well, and he's, able to absorb what you're saying and say, I get you, I understand where you're coming from. And you notice that your ability to problem solve, work through a problem, and then move to the, okay, what do we do now about that? If you're seeing that that works, that's a positive thing. Because you can never expect, Lola, to have a relationship in which you never have disagreements with your man. That doesn't make you have a perfect relationship because you don't have disagreements. What makes it a good relationship is that when you do have disagreements or misunderstandings or arguments, that there is an ability to come back and say, okay, last night I was upset. Last night I did a little bit much. Last night I went a little bit far. I want to apologize for the things that I did and things that I said. Of course, there are limits. So for example, if a guy is like doing something crazy, like putting your life in danger, or you know what I mean, hitting you or something like that, then those aren't things where you just come back, oh, last night was crazy, my bad. But there are certain things where it's like, okay, we had a miscommunication, we had a misunderstanding, you might have said something that triggered me, I said something that triggered you, I was upset, you were upset. Let's have a conversation about it, let's apologize for each of our places, and let's figure out how we move forward. That is an example of a relationship can be really good when you work through that process. It being bad, especially when you just got to know him, just started meeting him in person, getting a feel of his vibe and energy, that doesn't mean that your whole relationship will be bad. Now, if the response, let's say hypothetically, was for him to ignore you for a bunch of days and not have that conversation with you, then that would be a totally different story. But I do think, based on what you describe, having that conversation, seeing how things work out, seeing if the adjustment is made on both sides, and if you guys can come to an understanding where you don't no longer have that same miscommunication or misunderstanding, that can be a really positive sign, okay? Does that make sense? Okay, beautiful people. I know that you guys want me to stay on forever, but I do have to go do some things. I have other meetings to attend. By the way, if you guys want to join my community, it's available in the link in my description. My private relationship community where I teach and coach women, and we have different lessons that will take you through all the beginning of relationships. If you want to ask me a private question, that link is also available in my description. And if you want to get one-on-one coaching from me, that link is also available in my description. I'll be back tomorrow. Tomorrow's show is actually going to be an exciting one. It's going to be about what to do and how to handle a man who upsets you. Someone said one last one. If I do one last one, you guys will be like, one last one. I'll be back tomorrow. It's okay. We're on the, and today, we didn't have any clap it up for no technical difficulties on today's show. I might actually release this show for everyone to watch, like not put it on unlisted, because that's exciting. You know, we got to clap it up for no technical, at least I believe there were no technical difficulties, you know, which is great. The last couple of shows, there was always technical difficulties in one way, shape, or another. So I'm glad that there is none this time. All right. So I will see all you beautiful people tomorrow, probably around 4 p.m. Right. So my camera, oh yeah, my camera wasn't recording, but it's not as much of a technical difficulties as that's my fault. Right. But also, by the way, when you guys submit your questions through the link, don't worry. Come back on tomorrow's show, and tomorrow I will answer your questions. So I'll have it even more organized to clear out all the ones we've already done. But don't worry. Anytime you ask me a question, it will definitely get answered. It's just a matter of when I answer it. And I'll try also to make it so that anytime I do answer a question, I'll send you, when you do send in your question, I'll send you an email that confirms what show I answer the question on. I'll try and make that a thing as well. Okay, I'll see all you beautiful people tomorrow. And you know, we're having a great time on YouTube. Great time. I'll probably say 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 4 to 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Today I got on at 5:30. Okay, so we'll be around that same time tomorrow, okay? I will see all you beautiful people tomorrow, okay? Which time zone? Eastern Standard Time.